What happens to a child's brain when the whole world moves in before they even know who they are? Generation Z didn't just grow up online, they grew up under constant exposure, and that changes something. Imagine being 12 years old. Before school, you scroll, war footage, climate collapse headlines. Someone your age already successful. Perfect bodies, perfect routines, perfect lives. Your nervous system wakes up, not to silence, but to stimulation. And this didn't happen occasionally. It happened every single day during the most sensitive years of brain development. So instead of asking why Gen Z seems overwhelmed, maybe we should ask, what kind of nervous system develops in a world like that? Every generation inherits something. Gen Z inherited instability. They were children during the 2008 financial crisis. Many saw parents stressed about money. Research shows that chronic financial uncertainty increases hypervigilance in children. Then came school shooting drills. Then climate anxiety, daily reminders that the planet itself might not be stable long term. Studies show climate-related worry in adolescence is linked to sleep disruption and future pessimism. And just as many were forming their identities, the world shut down. COVID didn't just pause life, it interrupted adolescence. Isolation during teenage years affects social confidence and peer bonding. In other words, their social development happened through screens. Adolescence is supposed to be messy, private, experimental. But Gen Z formed identity publicly. The teenage brain is hypersensitive to peer evaluation. Now combine that with permanent visibility, likes as currency, algorithms deciding what is seen, instead of asking, who am I? Many learn to ask, how am I being perceived? And when identity becomes performance, self-awareness turns into self-surveillance. This helps explain rising levels of imposter syndrome, perfectionism, fear of choosing wrong, analysis paralysis, not because they are fragile, but because they were conditioned to optimize. There is a psychological concept called allostatic load. It refers to the wear and tear on the nervous system from chronic stress. Not one trauma, but constant micro-alerts, news notifications, online comparison, global crises, economic instability. When stress never fully resolves, the nervous system adapts by staying slightly activated. Over time, this looks like general anxiety, burnout at younger ages, emotional exhaustion, difficulty committing long-term. The brain evolved for local stress. Gen Z grew up with global stress. But the same environment that created anxiety also created awareness. Gen Z is emotionally articulate. They talk about boundaries, attachment styles, burnout, nervous system regulation. They assess authenticity instead of blindly trusting authority. They are adaptive, sensitive, fast at reading nuance. Sensitivity is not weakness. It is a nervous system trained to detect complexity. Here is their tension. They want stability, but they don't trust systems. They want intimacy. But vulnerability feels risky in a world that records everything. They want purpose, but they are exhausted by optimization culture. They were told, you can be anything, but shown, you must be exceptional. That gap creates strain. When the future feels unstable, commitment feels risky. This is not laziness. It is adaptive hesitation. Maybe Generation Z is not the most fragile generation. Maybe they are simply the first generation that grew up without ever being able to turn the world off. They learned about climate collapse before they learned how to drive. They watched wars in real time before they understood politics. They built identities while being watched. They were told to be limitless in a world that felt increasingly unstable. And maybe that's why they look tired sometimes. Not because they don't care, but because they care deeply. They care about the planet, about injustice, about meaning. They just grew up carrying more information than any nervous system was designed to hold. And still, they keep showing up. They create, they question, they try again. They speak openly about what hurts. That is not weakness. That is courage in a different language. Maybe they don't need to be toughened. Maybe they need to be understood. Because beneath the anxiety, beneath the hesitation, beneath the exhaustion, there is intelligence, there is empathy, there is enormous potential, and maybe they are not overwhelmed, they are awake.